Have you ever tried to hide who you truly are? And can you identify in those moments when you did hide who you truly were, whether you didn't say the thing, you didn't speak your mind, you didn't do what you wanted to do? Why did you do that in those moments? My name is Janika Galloway, and I'm an author, a psychic guide, and a hypnotherapist, helping people live and share that story that they're born to tell. And ever since my book was published in 2023, which was all about storytelling power, I've been really passionate about explaining to just everyday people like you and I how important our authentic expression is in our lives. And so today we're going to cover the importance of showing up as the real you in your life and expressing that in your own way. We're going to talk about the 4 types of fear that stop us from doing exactly that, and how to spot them in the common things that we say so that we can identify what is affecting us from showing up as our true authentic selves in any moment. So when I talk about expressing ourselves and why that's important, it's a journey that can be life-changing for us. If we are constantly expressing our truth and showing up as the real us in our life, then we're absolutely going to be going into our highest potential, our highest timeline is another way of looking at it. And we're going to be opening up doors for new possibilities and opportunities that really are in alignment for who we are in any given moment. On the contrary, if we are not expressing authentically, if we're not showing up as our authentic self, then we're going to be attracting those opportunities and those gateways and those doors where we aren't in our highest potential, we aren't in our highest timeline, because they're not truly ours. They're the doorways and the opportunities for that certain type of person we're pretending to be, or the certain type of person that we're trying to fit in to be, but they're not truly ours. And so that's why when we show up as ourselves and authentically express that in our life, it is so profoundly healing to be able to do that. Not only is it great for just us and our own personal journey and connecting in with that story we're born to tell, but it's also extremely important to do that so that we can build stronger relationships with the people that we are sharing with. Ultimately, when we do show up in this way, we live in a way that aligns with our values and our purpose and who we are and the story that we're born to tell. Why do so many of us struggle to behave in a way that feels authentic to us? You'd think that that would be very easy for all of us, and it's not always the case. And I truly believe that it's because society is built for us to be conformed. We are supposed to fit in a square box. We are supposed to be neat and tidy, easily explained, and a little sort of moldable figure that goes in a box and stays in the box. But so many of us struggle to express ourselves when we don't necessarily fit in that box. And we can hold ourselves back from coming out of that box because we're afraid and we have fear. We worry that we're too loud, or we're too quiet, or I'm too shy, or I'm too this, I'm too that, rather than just accepting who we are as individuals. And we're worried that we're going to be rejected for being ourselves, for being ostracized, or even just being judged for being ourselves. It can make us shrink and be small and fit into that box that I'm describing. And it's like, when you think about it, how many people fit in that neat little box of society's expectations of how they should live, what they should do, how they should look, how they should talk, etc. Like, how many people truly fit in that box? And each one of us is extremely unique, and we know this because of the stories that our souls have determined that they would like to live, which every single one is unique. Then how on earth do we fit in a box and all of us behave and act and think the same? We just don't. And so we struggle with conforming to these expectations, and we suppress our true nature in order to fit into this box I keep referring to. So in my book, I do talk about these 4 common fears that I see and have experienced myself, and also see in my clients, that stop them from embracing them coming out of their box. And when I explain these to you, I want you to just sit there and have a think about which one, or maybe there's more than one, that you identify as having an impact on you with your decision making and how you show up and how you express yourself in your everyday life. So I'm talking about within yourself, how you speak to yourself with your internal dialogue, and also how you are with your friends and family, in your relationships, at work, with your acquaintances, even when you're at the grocery shop. Any sort of interaction, any time that you need to be expressing who you are to other people, I want you to have a think about which one of these fears most aligns with how you're experiencing that at the moment and what stops you from expressing yourself truthfully 100% of the time. So the first fear I'll talk about is the fear of judgment. And this one manifests as the fear of being negatively evaluated by someone else. And this could be because we're afraid of being negatively evaluated or critiqued or criticized or laughed at. I've even seen and experienced myself being afraid that people will think I'm silly or stupid or insane. Just that general sense of being looked down on by others can instill this fear of judgment. And it can stop us from behaving in a way that we want to behave, the real essence of us and how we want to speak in a certain situation, how we want to express in a certain situation, and even the way that we just want to live our lives. The fear of judgment can stop us from doing that. And ultimately, when I think about this, I really think it's because we're afraid of being embarrassed or humiliated. And so if you're saying things like, I won't follow that dream, I won't go for that job, I won't go for that individual, I won't go for that move or change this because I'm afraid about what X is going to say, or I'm afraid about what X is going to think, or what they will say and think, then this is affecting you. The next one is the fear of conflict. And this is manifesting as if you're too afraid to speak your mind, share your truths, share your thoughts, share your essence, because you're afraid of conflict. So we don't say our minds, we don't speak our truths because we're afraid of any aggression or any conflict or any defensiveness from those that we're sharing this with. And so we end up just avoiding conflict at all cost, just completely shutting down and avoiding that conflict or that disagreement or that argument or even that difficult discussion. And this is especially prevalent in my people pleasers. So if you're watching this and you are like, I know that I have work to do with my people pleasing, then the fear of conflict can stop you and is likely stopping you from authentically expressing yourself in your situations in your day-to-day life. And also, they're just saying it can also manifest as your fear around you being able to handle conflict. So if you don't believe in your ability to assert yourself, stand your ground, that can also be in that category of the fear of conflict. It scares the living daylights out of you. And so saying things like, I'm not going to say this, I'm not going to do this because I'm afraid that people are going to disagree with me or come at me or argue with me or shut me down and challenge me, then that is the fear of conflict that stops you. And while I'm going through these, I'm only up to 2, but just so everybody's clear, I think every single person on the planet goes through these fears at different times in their life. And depending on, where you're at with your story and who you are as a soul and on your own journey, there will be a certain one or multiples of fears that really affect you from authentically expressing. So don't feel like, oh my gosh, well, I have both of them, so now I'm screwed. A lot of us go through these fears and deal with multiple at once, and even in certain situations, certain fears will be more prevalent. So stick with me, I'm going to carry on with 2 more fears. This next one is the fear of failure. And the fear of failure, my goodness, I think every single person that is tuning into this video has experienced this, myself included. And it is the fear of not being able to achieve a certain thing or desired outcome that you've set for yourself or that someone else has set for you. And so the fear of failure is so crippling because it holds us back. We don't even get the opportunity to try because we're so terrified that even if we try, it's not going to be good enough. And so we just don't try, we don't express, we don't share, we don't do anything that could come into contact with that fear of failure. So saying things like, I'm not going to go for it because I'll be embarrassed if it doesn't work out. I'm not going to go for it because things like that never happen for me, or I'm not going to be able to reach that outcome. I could never get that. Any of that language for me is just a warning bell for we're dealing with someone that has the fear of failure. They're so afraid to even try and connect with it because they're scared that they can't, that they're not capable, and that they're not worthy of having that. So they'll fail. Number 4 is the fear of success. So stick with me here because this was an interesting one. In my book, I wrote about how we can have the fear of failure, but we can also have the fear of success. So when we are fearing success, we are anxious and we are afraid that if we do call that thing in, live that way, say that thing, anything to do with that extra mile. So when we fear success, we get really anxious and almost we have this reluctance to work towards what we authentically want because we're so afraid that if we get it, we won't be able to hold on to it or that it'll be too much. And so then we suffer from self-doubt and procrastination and really just this sort of cycle of self-sabotaging. So saying things like, I'm not going to put my all into my annual presentation because I don't want to get that promotion because then I won't have the ability to do that job. I can't take that much on right now. It's like that is the fear of success. If you authentically want that and that's what your expression wants and you're not going for it because you're like, oh, it's too much and I might absolutely hit my dream and not have the time for it, it's well, that is the fear of success that's stopping you. And now actually I'm just thinking another bonus fear, if we can call them bonuses, is, and as a bonus, I'll just say another fear and an obstacle to authentic expression that I see is the fear of being vulnerable comes up a lot too. We are really terrified to bear it all, to show our true emotions, to share our true thoughts, to share what we really think in an authentic way that's unique to us. And so we will often put on this mask, and I described that box in the beginning, but it's almost like this mask where we don't want to be vulnerable and we don't want to let anyone in too deep to see that authentic self. So we just put on that mask and we stop ourselves from being vulnerable. But the truth is, regardless of which fear you sort of aligned with, or you're thinking, oh, I'm definitely working through that, or I have more work to do in that situation, the more we end up losing ourselves in the process by giving in to these fears that stop us from authentically expressing who we are and how we want to live. And I know whoever is watching this is feeling what I'm saying when I say it's almost like at some point or another, you feel like you're living a lie. You're in this box pretending to be this person and think a certain way, say the certain things, and you look in the mirror one day and you just don't even recognize yourself because you've been so taken away from authentically expressing who you really are. Now this person that is out there expressing all over the place doesn't even align with who you are at your soul's level. And it's not easy, I think, just showing up 100% authentic all of the time when you are dealing with these fears. There's definitely been times when I felt like I've been on shaky ground of wanting to say things. For example, when I came out of the psychic closet, there was this fear. What are people going to say about me? The fear of judgment was huge with me. The fear of judgment really held me back for so long, of just being afraid that people would have opinions about me and what I do and how I serve and have chatter. And it held me back for a period of time until I really did write this book so that I could heal and so that I could step into my storytelling power and be like, this is what I do, this is how I do it, and I don't really mind what you think about that. And that was eliminating the fear of judgment for me. I also believe that embracing our true selves is something that just gives us permission to be messy, to just be human and complicated and not perfect, and that we don't have to fit into that box, that we can just express who we are and that be okay and that be enough. And so as we wrap up this video, I actually really wanted to leave you with something. I wanted to leave you with this challenge. And this is a challenge that I give a lot of my clients around authentically expressing in their everyday life. So next time you're asked, how are you? How was your day? Any of those sort of generic questions by someone that you have the relationship with to answer back and respond back honestly, I want you to watch how you immediately go to give an answer that fits in the box. Really great, thanks. Oh, I'm great, thank you. Had a great day. How was yours? Watch that box form. And I want you to pause and have a think and answer it truthfully with authentic expression. How are you today? How was your day? And give an honest response back and feel how that feels in your body when you share the truth. And if you've gotten to the end of this video and you've thought, I don't even know who I am anymore. I know we're talking about authentically expressing. What is that? Who am I? Then you're also not alone. I also work with a lot of people like that. And it is essentially you reconnecting back to yourself. That's the challenge I'm going to give you. And I'm going to give you a couple of sort of prompts that can help you with this. So I want you to ask yourself, what is important in my life? What do I stand for? What qualities do I pride myself on that I'm really proud of? What are my non-negotiables in my life? What things am I willing to fight for or defend? What qualities do I admire in others and why? And what brings me joy? What lights me up? What feels like I am doing it or a part of it or being with it and I blink and it's been 4 hours? What brings me absolute joy? So start there for me and keep watching these videos. Thank you so much for watching, and I would love to hear in the comments what's been your journey with authenticity so far. I shared about my fear around being seen and judgment, and how that really held me back in the beginning from coming out of that psychic closet and that spiritual closet. So what has been your experience with authentic expression? And is there any of those fears that I covered that you're like, oh, that one, I definitely feel like I've either worked through or I am still in the process of working through? I would love to see.